Welcome to It's Called Soccer, the show that brings you the biggest stories, the best guests, and so much more. I'm Rebecca Lowe, host of the Premier League on NBC, and I'm joined by 8-time Premier League winner Gary Neville. You can subscribe and make sure that you don't miss an episode. We come out every Wednesday. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, and here's what we've got coming up on today's show. Trent says goodbye to Liverpool.
We're winning trophies, you support our club, you're from this city, you've been a fan all your life, what you're doing. But the reality of it is that club, Real Madrid, is a little bit something different.
Have Manchester City or Arsenal had a better season?
A massive drop-off for City in the league from the standards that they've set to pick up a trophy and get into the Champions League and potentially finish second.
Kane gets his trophy.
He obviously will watch the Premier League still, I'm sure, every single week. I just wonder if there's part of him that thinks he'll be itching to get back a little bit now.
Is it Europa or bust for United and Spurs?
It's going to be the biggest middle finger in English football history.
It will be.
I actually think it will be amazing, but the problem he's playing my team, so he can't win.
Can Yamal match Messi and Ronaldo?
The composure, the calmness, the temperament, the skill at that age is ridiculous.
And Major League Soccer with Bradley Wright-Phillips.
If you win the most amount of games throughout a season in both conferences, you're the best team in the league. I am just mad because my free supporter shield over here don't mean anything.
That's all coming up on this week's episode of It's Called Soccer.
I saw you bragging about your viewing figures that you contributed to for the Kentucky Derby. How was it?
Okay, so that, I have to say, is quite interesting, Gary. Like, the biggest viewing figures for the Kentucky Derby since 1989, in a world that is so different from 89 in terms of things to do in life, right? I think that's pretty amazing. I think they peaked at over 21 million. Anyway, I digress. It was brilliant. It was.
Are you patting yourself? Just give yourself a pat
just
on the
a
back.
Very small few million. I think I probably brought along. No, it was soaking wet. Absolutely, it's either boiling hot and humid in Louisville, Kentucky, or it's soaking wet. And I mean, both are really hard because I do the Premier League show in the morning, and then I jump off the Premier League show at 2:30 in the afternoon, and my first hit on the Derby show is at 20 minutes later, and then I do hits like every 45 minutes on the Derby show until the races run, and then I interview the winning owner in the winning circle at 7:30 at night. So it's maybe the longest day of my year, and it just, when it's raining, you've got like Wellington boots on, and then you've got to switch out. It's a lot. It is a lot.
So, I was in New York with you a few weeks ago, and you mentioned you did a promo, didn't you? A promotional sort of like readout for the Kentucky Derby, and that you were going, you, Robbie, and Robbie.
And Tim,
I thought you actually did a crossover and you were actually presenting the horse race. So when I got to the game on Sunday in the trucks, the NBC truck, and obviously I was doing Chelsea Liverpool, I saw that you were presenting the Premier League from the Derby.
Yes.
And that's the first time I actually cottoned onto it. I saw the mud, actually. It looked a right mess, actually, all that mud.
It's called cross-promotion, Gary. So Premier League on NBC, Kentucky Derby on NBC, get everyone together, and then they just use me on both shows.
I think I should present Premier League football from Australia next winter. The Ashes, absolutely.
That's it. That's your bucket list right there. We can tick that right off. Okay. All right. So I was doing the Kentucky Derby. Were you at David Beckham's 50th birthday party?
Yes. On the Saturday night before the game on the Sunday. It's not often that I intoxicate myself on a Saturday night before working on a Sunday, but as Liverpool have won the league, and I just decided to go for it. Yeah,
it's just
why not?
Mad that you're both 50. I think that's just so crazy.
I know. It's just not right.
Right. Okay. Well, let's swiftly move on, shall we? Because we're going to start with some of the big news over the last 24 hours. The Trent Alexander-Arnold news. He comes out with a video on his social media, and I think with LFC TV as well, to say that he is going to leave. He doesn't say where he's going, but we all know where he's going. Let's listen to that video just in case anyone's missed it first.
I think the decision for me is personal. To change environment, to challenge myself elsewhere. It's not about wanting to find something better. It's about me and my personal journey as a player. And I feel like now is the right time for me to go and experience that.
So he's obviously pretty emotional about the whole thing, and it has been the longest running saga all season long. One thing that's come out today is the news that Real Madrid want to ask Liverpool to release him early from his contract to play in the Club World Cup. What do you think Liverpool should do?
I can see why Real Madrid have done it and why Trent Alexander-Arnold would like that, because it'll embed him into his teammates almost sort of well before, obviously, he gets pressure put on him next season playing in Spain. But I think Liverpool will be torn. It's a cheeky little £1,000,000 they weren't expecting. But also, I think there'll be an element of them saying, no, we've got pride, we've got ego, we don't need that £1,000,000, we don't know. But I don't know. I think if they're being sensible, he's a player who obviously has been with them all their life. If he wants to go, I would ask Trent Alexander-Arnold. And I think if Liverpool ask him and he says, I'd like to go and play for them, then do the deal and take the money. Because, Trent could say, no, I don't want to do it, but he must want to do it. Trent must want to go and play in the World Cup Championship with his new teammates. What an opportunity it is for Trent, by the way. I think it's unbelievable, mate, to go and play with Bellingham and Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. and all those great players. He's playing in a great team now at Liverpool, but that is another level, to be fair, when you look at those players they've got.
I think that's what's the point is. I think so much of the uproar, and I think Jamie mentioned it on Sky over the weekend, is that Liverpool fans are just really upset that Trent obviously doesn't think Liverpool's big enough in terms of there is somewhere else to go. And maybe there is only one more step to go. And that's what, and so ultimately it comes down to that's what they're upset about, really, isn't it?
He was a little bit upset, Jamie, wasn't he? Just our colleague who's a little bit sort of like, can't tell Liverpool what to do, can you? To be fair, I've not got much to smile about this season, but I had a little smirk to myself on a bank holiday Monday over here in England. Oh, here we go, that's nice.
I know. He did say, for anyone who missed it, he said, well, I think people should stop telling Liverpool fans how to feel, I think, and what to think, didn't he? Yeah.
I've been there with United where I've been too close to situations, and sometimes it's people who are outside of the situation who are a bit colder about it that can see. I think I can see this situation really well because I think it's happened to me at United a couple of times where great players have left to go, and one of my best friend has left to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah, but the difference was that David Beckham wasn't from Manchester, right? The difference is, I think, isn't it, that he's the only, he's the Scouser and not the only one, but he's a Scouser in the squad, and that's the thing.
But David wasn't from Manchester, but he was absolutely a huge United fan. His mum and dad did not want him to go. They were huge United fans all their lives. And he'd been at United since he was 13, 14. So whilst I get it, he's not born in Manchester. He was effectively an adopted Mancunian. And had won everything with United. I just think that's the one club, happened with Ruud van Nistelrooy, happened with Cristiano Ronaldo, happened with David Beckham. It's the one club where you just think that you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle to keep someone if that club comes calling, because it's a giant of a club, it's a giant of a stadium. The players they've got playing for them, they're always involved in European Cups at the latter stages, and that's obviously Liverpool want to be there as well. I can see why I said earlier on, I can see why Liverpool fans are upset, but I can also see why Trent Alexander-Arnold has said, I want this challenge in my life.
They've got 2 more home games, just real quick to finish this, Gary, against Arsenal, against Palace.
Yeah.
Some are saying that he shouldn't play again because they should just give those games to Conor Bradley. Some are saying he absolutely should play. What do you think Liverpool will do to celebrate him in amongst what is a little bit of tension?
I think over the last 7 or 8 years, I think Liverpool have been a pretty classy football club. They've done things, I think, the right way in terms of on and off the pitch. I don't think you lower yourselves to those sorts of, I shouldn't play for us again. I think you do the right thing. Because when you do the right thing, you're also sending a message to the players who are in the dressing room, who are his friend, and you're also sending a message to players who come and play for your club in the future. I always think when you start to get involved in petty, small-time behaviours as an owner, as a CEO, as a whatever it is, a captain, you've got to remember that you're basically then sending a message to the people that you're trying to impress in the future and get into your club or keep at your club, that basically we don't do things properly. And I think, to be fair, they will do it properly. And I think, look, Conor Bradley might play in one of the games because that's just natural anyway. He came off on Sunday, Trent Alexander-Arnold. But I think he'll play in the last game when the trophy's being given. I thought the timing was interesting. It had to come at some point.
Yeah.
We discussed on this podcast, didn't we, that we thought that once the league was won, it was going to become more difficult for them to keep this sort of, if you like, away, keep sort of batting the questions away. So it's been done. I thought it was done well by Trent Alexander-Arnold yesterday. I think it's a magnificent challenge for him. And when I say magnificent challenge, I don't say that with the fact that it's going to be easy. It's going to be bloody hard work for him. You know, to play over there, to take the place of Carvajal, who might be fit next season, to get in front of all, those players and those fans and prove to them that he can play at that level, which we know he can, but defend at that level. He's got a magnificent opportunity, I think, to go and basically create something fantastic in his life, accepting he knows what he's losing. You know you lose a little bit when, he knows that when he leaves Liverpool, that little bit of magic that maybe existed between you and the people of Liverpool just goes a little bit and it fades. But doing it in the right way means that he will be able to come back in the future, I think, and he will be able to sort of, walk around the streets of Liverpool and hold his head up high that he's a kid done good. So, look, it's probably a little bit sore for some Liverpool fans at this moment in time, and it would be when I was playing at United, this idea that how they left our club. We're winning trophies, you support our club, you're from this city, you've been a fan all your life, what you're doing. But the reality of it is that club, Real Madrid, is a little bit something different.
Okay, we've got a ton to rattle through, so we're going to just touch on a couple of things, Gary, starting with Manchester City beating Wolves on Friday. That was the Friday afternoon football over here in the US, capitalising then, of course, on a slip-up from Arsenal over the weekend. So it's just 3 points now, separating Arsenal from Manchester City all of a sudden, which is so bizarre. So let's just say City takes second, which absolutely could happen. I just don't see them losing another game this season. And they win the FA Cup, which absolutely will not happen. But you never know, it might. And Arsenal don't win the European Cup and finish third. They've had a better season, haven't they, City?
Yeah, of course they have. No, look, I still think, we're doing this podcast ahead of the Champions League game with Arsenal. I think Arsenal have got a great chance still of winning that game, and they could have a really special second leg there. But they could also, as we know, in a 50-50 game, they could go out and they're 1-0 down. But, City are still on. It's just something there's something about, when I played at United, Sir Alex Ferguson used to say, if you can pick up a trophy or two in the seasons where you're not at your best, don't underestimate how important that is. And some of the most important trophies sometimes at football clubs are Carabao Cups and FA Cups to keep that momentum going. There's a new team that he's building there. I think it would be a great season in what would be really a massive drop-off for City in the league from the standards that they've set to pick up a trophy and get into the Champions League and potentially finish second. Arsenal messed up, didn't they, last week when they played a full team, didn't they, in that game midweek?
The game before the first leg.
Sorry, weekend.
And then again at the weekend, they've done it. He did it again this weekend.
You've got to basically try to keep your rhythm and keep your players together and keep them all sort of, ticking over. Thinking also you've got a job to do in the league and finish second and make sure you don't get caught out in a bloody nose in that. And all of a sudden he's like dropping points. It's like, bloody hell, it's like going from bad to worse. But look, it's all on the Champions League for Arsenal. I think they will get in the top 5. They will get into the Champions League places. So I think he's got a bit of comfort.
Okay, just very quick question. What if Tottenham win the Europa League and Arsenal finish third? Who's had the better season?
Do you know Arsenal, really? I mean, look, because the fact of the matter is you can't finish wherever Tottenham are at this moment, 15th in the league, and say that when you've built your bread and butter around leagues and sort of finishing well in the league and being sort of that endurance race of a Premier League title or a league title, yeah, I don't think we can start to diminish Arsenal's achievements just because Tottenham have won a trophy. What a Europa League final it could be, by the way. I mean, look, they've both got the job to finish off, but I think they will. I think United and Tottenham will do their jobs on Thursday, and that is massive.
And what's so weird about it, though, Gary, is that the trophy sitting on the plinth on the side of the pitch is actually secondary to what that night's about. That night's about playing in the Champions League.
I know, that's the thing. The games that we're watching now that have any meaning to them are about money.
Yeah.
People don't say, Arsenal have really got to finish second, and Arsenal have got to finish runners-up, or United have got to win the Europa League. It's all about the actual consequence of not being in the Champions League. And the fact of the matter is, Rebecca, these games, by the way, now, for some reason this last few years, well, we know why, PSR and sustainability has become a real problem for these clubs. The success next season of United, Tottenham, Villa, Forest, Newcastle, City, Arsenal, all the teams that are going for that, Chelsea, it's heavily dependent upon this extra 50, 60, 70, 80 million that they get, depending on how far they go in the Champions League. It's become almost like do or die. It's desperation. I've said this now. There are cliff edges being created across English football. Top 5 now with Champions League. Then you've got Europa League, there's another cliff edge. Then you've got, obviously, if you go down, which is obviously another cliff edge down at the bottom. Then you've got basically in the Championship, the top of the Championship, you're creating sort of like what would be, you've got these massive drop-offs everywhere. It should be like that.
And then the difference between, so Tottenham and Man United are very similar situations right now. The olive branch, really, of Champions League football, if they're in the final and one of them gets it and one of them doesn't, it actually is such an extreme difference. two massive clubs in the bottom half of the Premier League who need that money in order to attract the players, to go again, to rebuild their next era. Oh my gosh, it's like everything or zero.
Absolutely. I mean, it's massive. I mean, when I interviewed Jim Ratcliffe back in I think it was early March maybe that I interviewed him, that feeling of sort of Manchester United that running out of cash, and they banked, last summer with that investment they made into Erik ten Hag's squad in getting into the Champions League. That's what they banked on. Now, look, it can still happen through obviously a different route. Did you see Arsene Wenger, by the way, had said that, I don't know what your view is on this, but Arsene Wenger said that definitely Europa League winners should not get into the Champions League.
I don't disagree with that because of situations like this. I think Chelsea, if they finish sixth, or Forest, if they finish sixth, and there's another Champions League place floating around on offer, it shouldn't go to the team who finished 16th. And also, like we just said, it just takes away from lifting that trophy, because when they're lifting the Europa League, whoever it is, they're not lifting the trophy for the trophy. They're lifting for the money. And like you said, I don't like that. So I do agree with him on that. Just the two managers real quick, Ange Postecoglou and Ruben Amorim. Ooh, what a massive game. This is all based on the fact that both of them see out their semi-finals and they meet in the final. Amorim stays no matter what, right? It's about Ange.
Yeah. And do you know something? I think I said, actually, it was on this podcast probably about 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, that I wanted Tottenham to win a trophy if Manchester United didn't win the Europa League. I mean, now I'm in a position whereby obviously I want United to win the final desperately. But it's massive. Ange did promise us a trophy, didn't he, in the second season?
I think I said the other week, can you imagine if he gets it? The swagger on the guy, the swagger as he crosses the pitch is going to be unreal.
It's going to be the biggest middle finger in English football history.
It will be.
And you know something? I think I'll join him on that one, because I actually think it will be amazing. But the problem he's playing my team, so he can't win.
Yeah, but also, Gary, it might be a huge middle finger, and then he'll go and pick up his P45. For those listening in America and watching in America, that means the sack.
Yeah, but you know something? If he does what he's done in this first two seasons and wins the Europa League, I think. Look, I still think there is an element of Tottenham have made their mind up already. Yeah. I feel that, but it would be an unbelievable achievement for him if he got Champions League football for Tottenham and he was to beat Manchester United in the final. You always think that. And look, you can't speak too early, but I always fancy United in finals, just an element of sort of what they do. But obviously they got beat by Villarreal a few years ago when Ollie was there, and that was big for Ollie at the time. This is big for Ruben Amorim. I think for him to get a trophy off the back of the last 4, 5, 6 months that he's had, but it's huge for Ange Postecoglou. I almost don't want that game. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's horrible. You're a football fan of the club and you think this is just too big. It's almost like playing Liverpool in a Champions League final. Or, even City in the cup final last year and the year before. There's an element of these games that, like, if you win them, it's fine, but if you don't, it's a horrible feeling. And that's what's coming in the next few weeks. Look, these two teams, by the way, have still got to do their jobs on Thursday. I think United are 99% there. I think United will definitely do it. Yeah. Tottenham, if Tottenham got a goal, if Bodo Glimt got a goal, you'd think, ooh. So Tottenham have still got a job to do. They're probably 80% there, I would say. United are 99% there. It's Called Soccer is brought to you by our partner FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The European soccer season had entered its final stretch. The Champions League final is looming and the race to be there next season is tight. Plus, the MLS season is really kicking into gear. Whether you want to bet on the match result, your favourite player to score or assist, or even how many corner kicks there will be in a match, FanDuel is the place to get in on the action. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's $200 in bonus bets. And if you're already a customer, FanDuel is giving out same-game parlay profit boost tokens on this week's Champions League ties for a chance to increase your winnings. Visit FanDuel.com/ICS to get in on the action. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. And if you win, the payouts are instant. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You must be 21 plus and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in DC. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com.
Just want to touch on a couple of strikers real quick. Harry Kane. How can anybody not be happy for Harry Kane? He wins a trophy 5,223 days into his career, to be precise. You can't not be happy for the guy. The selfie video, I don't know if you've seen his social media. Him and Eric Dyer are singing "We Are the Champions."
We are the champions, my friends. And we'll keep on fighting to the end.
He's so wholesome. I just want more for him. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, worked with him directly for 3 years with England and as a coach, obviously under Roy Hodgson. Amazing player. Absolutely amazing player. But do you know something? Someone so solid as a character and as a personality, as a trainer, every single day does the right thing. And sometimes, you don't get the rewards of your sort of efforts personally in a team game. You sort of have players during their careers that we know that, Steven Gerrard not winning a Premier League title with obviously his sort of class and his sort of incredible career. Harry Kane not getting a trophy yet. So no, it's a massive achievement for him, and I'm delighted for him. He needed that, and hopefully he'll win some more.
I was going to quickly ask you about that. So the Bundesliga, of course, he's in the moment right now. He's delighted. I don't think that's going to be enough for him. He wants that Champions League trophy. Do you think, I think he's got 2 years left on his contract. Does he stay at Bayern where he has a bigger chance to win the Champions League if he stays at Bayern, doesn't he, than if he comes back to even a Chelsea or a United, don't you think?
You know something? There's an element of, I don't know, I thought about that after he won the league at the weekend, and I just thought, he obviously will watch the Premier League still, I'm sure, every single week. I just wonder if there's part of him that thinks, he'll be itching to get back a little bit now. Almost like he may do another 12 months. He probably will do another 12 months. But I suspect he'll be back next time. If you think of the clubs in the league at this moment in time, Rebecca, that need a
top six.
I mean, Manchester United, Arsenal,
Liverpool, Chelsea.
And Arsenal. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, United all want a striker. City probably okay, Newcastle probably okay. So you've got 4 clubs there. Now, obviously, you can't go to Arsenal, so that's he'll never go to Arsenal. He'll not do that.
Could.
Chelsea's hard, but United's not so hard, is it?
Yeah, but how much would he cost with 2 years left on his deal?
Well, it cost a few quid. It wouldn't be the biggest waste of money that Manchester United have put into a player in the last 10 years, would it?
You're not wrong. There is another striker who's going to be definitely on the market this summer, and that's Jamie Vardy. We know he's leaving Leicester, and the reports and the talk are he wants to stay in the Premier League. We had a conversation on air last weekend about what kind of level we're talking, and most of the chaps believe that coming off the bench for maybe a middle ranking or definitely a newly promoted would be the way forward. I would definitely take him at Palace. I just love him for lots of reasons. I actually covered him when he was playing for Fleetwood Town, and I was working forever ago at ESPN, and he was scoring goals left, right and centre. And that whole journey, the way that he didn't even come into the Premier League, I think until he was 27, is amazing. His goal return, everything about him. His cheekiness though, his housery, as they call it, at the weekend came out for me in full force. And there are kind of two perspectives on this, Gary. We've both watched the video when the referee went down. Jordan Ayew knocked the referee virtually out, actually. And Jamie Vardy was relatively close, sprinted over, bent down to the referee's wrist where the whistle is, blew the whistle, and then ran away. By the way, the referee ended up having to be replaced by the fourth official. So this wasn't like a minor injury. And from my perspective, it didn't look like Jamie gave two hoots about how the referee was. He was just taking the mickey, as we say. I love that. There is a place in football for that, Gary, surely.
Yeah, I think there's just maybe one slight alteration he may have made would have been just to sort of check on the ref slightly whilst the ref was sat there sort of
that wasn't a great look.
Shaking on the ground.
I know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the idea of blowing the whistle to stop the game because the referee's down is something that was actually quite clever, quite smart, quite humorous. Yeah, just... There's a Southampton player, though, that came in and started to sort of near him. Obviously, he didn't blow the whistle, but he basically said to the referee, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" Well, Jamie Vardy didn't seem to take that approach. He just sort of wandered off, blew the whistle and then wandered off as if to say, my job's done. My job's done here. I've stopped the game.
If you haven't seen it, you've got to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think he maybe could have just shown a little bit more sort of empathy towards the referee, but that's life.
I love him. I love Jamie Vardy, and fingers crossed he stays in the Premier League next season because he's just brilliant. He's just brilliant in every way. Okay, I've got to ask you about the player that everybody is talking about right now. Lamine Yamal, the kid that is Lamine Yamal. I know. Last week he lit up Barcelona's Champions League semi-final against Inter Milan with the most ridiculous goal that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Second leg is happening just after we record this episode. So he may be featuring in the Champions League final by the time people tune into this. He's already won the Copa del Rey, the Spanish Super Cup this season as well with Barcelona. He could win a second La Liga. He won the 2024 Euros with Spain. I mean, this is ridiculous. He's 17 years old and he's won all of this. Anyone who hasn't seen these stats, let me just quickly read them. Ronaldo at 17 had 19 appearances, 5 goals, 4 assists. Lionel Messi at 17, 9 appearances, 1 goal, no assists. Lamine Yamal at 17, 100 appearances, this is ridiculous, 22 goals and 33 assists. Are we looking at their heir?
Oh, he was so special. 2 amazing games last week in the Champions League. I thought, this time of year, these games come around, but I thought last week, I loved the game. I love the fact that Inter Milan took a conflict of styles between the two teams. I love the fact that this basically feeding this player who, honestly, it was really special watching him. The way in which the ball's tied to his feet, the way in which he always has his head up, the way in which he can deliver a cross. The composure, the calmness, the temperament, the skill at that age is ridiculous. I mean, we saw him playing the Euros last summer, didn't we? Which, to be fair, in itself was an achievement in itself to be doing what he was doing and be successful with that. But Barcelona, they have the ability to produce these players sort of quite regularly, don't they? That you just think, how's that happened? These technically gifted players that they don't feel like they should be the quickest or the strongest. You look like he was up against tough Italian defenders, and he looked like he had them in terms of strength. He looked like he had them in terms of speed. He looked like he had them basically exactly where he wanted him. And actually, I watched his performance last week. He's 17 and unbelievable. But I thought Cole Palmer was special on Sunday in that game for Chelsea. I thought he was really special in that game against Liverpool. I know that Liverpool was slightly off it in terms of how they played, but I just thought, do you know something? You watch some players that just make the game look easy, and he just makes the game look so easy, that kid. It's incredible.
Let's just compare, or not compare, but let's just cast your mind back to when Ronaldo came to Manchester United. How does a club and a manager deal with a precocious talent like that to get the best out of them? Is it a completely different way he deals with that player, like Fergie with Cristiano Ronaldo, completely different to how he treated everybody else?
Yeah, I actually think, to be fair, a better comparison for him would be Rooney. In the maturity of Rooney at 16, 17 versus the maturity of Yamal at 16, 17 is similar. Whereas actually you think about Ronaldo, very immature at that 18, 19, 20, very sort of not developed in terms of his thinking about when to pass, when to cross. His decision making on the pitch was erratic. And he was just not physically developed to a point whereby he always looked a bit gangling, a bit sort of out of control. And when Ronaldo really came to the fore was 2006. 2006 was when I think he just went from being that sort of young, erratic, wide player into something that was like, wow, what the hell is this? These two I'm talking about though here, Rooney was ripe at 16, 17. Lamine Yamal is basically ripe at 16, 17. They're sort of absolute. You think to yourself, how do they even get better? Because they're so complete so early in their careers that for me, Ronaldo more from a point of view of the position, but I think in terms of actual development mentally and development in decision making and development in terms of where they're at in their sort of development, I think that ultimately these two, Rooney was at his very top when he was 17, 18. Ronaldo needed some sort of what would be, he came in and out of the team. He was substituted. He was someone who basically sort of at times was frustrating. Should I say just frustrating the way he played? The other two aren't. They were actually, to be fair, quite mature and intelligent in their minds at that age.
So how do they deal with Yamal at Barcelona to ensure, we talk all the time about players who have played so many games by the age of, and then we say they've played too much football. He's already played 100 games at 17, Gary. How do they help him to ensure that he doesn't burn out at 25?
Yeah. Well, another example actually is Ryan Giggs. Ryan Giggs played from the age of sort of 16 at Manchester United to the
And
age
he
of
never
40.
burnt. He
Played
never burnt
900 and
out.
odd 900 and odd games. And that's the thing about De Bruyne. It's the thing about the sort of Lamine Yamal. If they can develop different positions, so if you can play off the front, or if you can play maybe as within a three in midfield eventually. So you can't play as a wide player, I don't think, at the age of 36, 37. It becomes very difficult physically to be able to, you lose a yard, you basically can't get up and down. But what you could then do is play more central in a position of dictating the game. I thought the position that Cole Palmer played on Sunday for Chelsea against Liverpool was fantastic in terms of the off the front. So I'm sure he will go central at some point in his development. At the moment, he's on that right-hand side. But I think he will end up going off the front at times and has done that, obviously, occasions in the way in which he plays. So for me, I think it's about making sure that you get as much as you can out of yourself on the wide, in the wide areas in your younger years when you've got that energy and you've got that speed and you've got a change of pace, but then develop the positions because he's technically gifted enough to go and play where David Silva played. Think of him being David Silva or Bernardo Silva when he gets into his 30s and he can sort of manipulate the ball and he can find passes and he can control the game. So I think he'll just evolve through what would be an unbelievable technical ability and evolving his positions as the years go on.
You mentioned Cole Palmer twice about how well you thought he played at the weekend against Liverpool, but there's been a 3-month gap where we haven't seen that, Gary.
I know.
Is that simply maturity?
It's weird, Rebecca, because I haven't seen Chelsea for 3 months live, because you get given games at Sky. Mainly my games have been sort of whether United or Liverpool mainly. And I just basically felt like I'd never been away. Pre-Christmas he was incredible, but obviously he hasn't been. He's not scored a goal in 18 matches, I think it was in all. But
it's not just that he hadn't scored or assisted. It's simply that he just was invisible in games.
It's form, yeah.
So weird.
Exactly. And look, the team have dipped a little bit. Maybe his confidence has dipped a little bit, but he's still got, I think, 15 Premier League goals this season, which is an incredible return. And yeah, you're right. Where's he been for 3 months? How's this happened? But he's a young player still, and you're going to have bouts of difficulties and challenges and poor form. But on Sunday, that first goal, that bit of movement on that first goal, oh my goodness, that is like, I there are only a few players in my life that played left wing against me. It's a winger's movement, that, by the way. It's not a central midfield players or an off the front players movement. It's a wide players movement. But it's the wide players movement of someone who basically is world class. I only played against 2 or 3 players, I think, in my time, maybe Iron Robin. I'm trying to think of a couple of other, Figo. These types of players, Ronaldo had it, that ability to play that side, drift away and all of a sudden just dart back. You can't do that movement if you're an ordinary player. You are very special if you can time that movement to coincide with the pass, with everything. Honestly, I was like, oh dear, that is very, very special. That you are. I knew he was a top player, but you just think that's something that really sticks in my mind. That piece of play. That's incredible.
He is an absolute shoo-in for me with the England team from now on. I mean, I just don't think there's even a discussion anymore. I'm sorry, Foden. I'm sorry.
We must be able to get Foden and Palmer into an 11. I think with some players, they deserve almost like that sort of, you go through the storm with them because they're that talented, they're that good. Jude Bellingham is amazing. We must be able to get Foden, Bellingham and Palmer into an 11. Now that's whether they're playing wide or whether they're playing as one of the 2 advanced midfield players. We must be able to get these 2 or 3 players in.
Okay, picks of the week time brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You were quite good on this last week, by the way. We need a score and a goal scorer for 3 matches. We're going to start with tonight's massive Champions League semi-final second leg, PSG, Arsenal. PSG lead Arsenal by a goal to nil, of course, from the first leg. This is in Paris. Who are you going for? Give me a score and a scorer.
I'm going 2-1 to Arsenal. Arsenal to win on penalties.
Oh, yuck. That is horrid. Okay, give me a scorer.
I'm going to go for Saliba.
I want Arsenal to go through. I don't think they're going to go through. I think that game at the weekend, I think it's going to be 1-1 tonight. And I think Saka's going to score for Arsenal, but I think they're going out. And I don't want them to go out. I really don't want them to go out. I'm in England. I like English teams doing well. Unlike Jamie, who absolutely apparently hates it when English clubs do well in Europe. Okay, Bodo Glimt against Tottenham. It's 3-1 Spurs, as we said. It's at Bodo Glimt on a plastic pitch, on a 3G, I think they call it these days. It's relatively cold, but not freezing. It's not that bad. They haven't got James Maddison. Go. Give me a score. No scorer.
I'm going to go Bodo Glimt 2, Tottenham 1, and they're just going through. I think there's a bump or two in the road on Thursday night for Tottenham, but I think they'll just get there.
I think you're right too. I think it might, but I think Bodo Glimt will score. I'm going to go 3-2 on the night, so 6-3 on aggregate. Spurs are through, and then La Liga Sunday. Barcelona, Real Madrid. God, these big games at this time of the season. Score and any time scorer.
Well, Real Madrid need to win, don't they?
Yes.
Have they got it in them, Real Madrid? Have they got it in them to win? Have they got it in them at this moment? I'm not sure Real Madrid have got it in them this season. I think that I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Okay.
And I'm going to go for the scorer to be Rafinha.
Okay. By the way, it's mad, isn't it? He played for Leeds.
Yeah, but he's good, isn't he?
He's so good, but I don't think when I watched him, I thought he was that good.
Yeah, he does something. He reminds me of Mahrez a little bit in terms of his style of play. I know he's playing on the left last week, wasn't it, in the game? And obviously, Lamine Yamal plays on the right. But I just feel like I feel like he's a bit like a little bit like a Mahrez type play style, in which the way in which he sort of drifts the ball in.
I just love it. I just love when you have a player that goes above and beyond what I don't think anyone saw that coming. I'm going 2-2 in that game. Jude Bellingham to get a goal in that one, I think. Yeah. All right, those were our picks of the week. Brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Okay, time to round up the Major League Soccer headlines. We're joined by one of the most lethal goal scorers the league has ever seen. He is a legendary figure for supporters of the New York Red Bulls, 2-time Golden Boot winner, and the second fastest player to score 100 goals in Major League Soccer. Since hanging up his boots, he's transitioned seamlessly, I might add, into broadcasting. I've been watching as an analyst for MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. Please welcome to the show, Bradley Wright-Phillips.
What a nice welcome. Made me sound like a half-decent player. Respect it. Thank you.
No, not at all. What an unbelievable career you had over here. We're going to get stuck into it. Gary, go.
Bradley, just something. When I think back to like the MLS and I think of sort of like, who's playing over there, I always think Bradley Wright-Phillips is the one player that I always felt was the constant, obviously playing sort of coming over from England to America. Why did you make that transition? What was it about America that you just sort of like took you away and kept you there?
Do you know what, Gary? If I was to tell you I sat down and thought about it deeply, I'd be lying. I honestly was just at a place in England where, it was up and down for me. I'd have a good season, then I was rubbish, then I'd have another decent season. And I was just getting fed up with, maybe you can go to this club. And I was getting fed up with it, if I'm being honest. And then my agent, same agent as Thierry, Darren, he's just like, listen, Red Bull want to see you train. They want to see if you're fit enough. Go over there. I honestly looked at it as like, I'll go to New York for a holiday and then train with Thierry, Tim Cahill, these guys, and just have a little laugh for a few weeks. And then I got there and I was just blown away by the facilities, the player standard, because I was very arrogant and ignorant to MLS football. I really was. I thought it wouldn't be a decent standard. And I got here and I fell in love. And honestly, since that day in 2013, I ain't looked back.
Two questions on this. So how does it differ to the standard that you were playing in England? And secondly, how has it evolved from when you first arrived in the US to obviously now?
The standard is a tough one because the quality on the ball for me was never different. I think the standard when I first got here was the mentality side. With relegation and playing in League One and Championship, people are fighting for their lives down there. I think what I struggled with when I got to America was, bringing that, you have to bring that intensity. We bring that intensity from England in training. Everything matters. And I think over here, a win and a loss didn't feel the same. I think that's changed a little bit now. I think the coaching's got better. So, coaches bringing those kind of standards and levels that they want in training and on a game day. But for me, it wasn't too much the quality of player. It was those things that were different, the mentality.
Yeah. And then what about the levels from when you first joined to now?
The levels are a tough one. I think I spoke about this with maybe TT not too long ago. So the level for me of coaching has got better. But the player back then when I came, you had Thierry on your side, you had Tim Cahill, there was Robbie Keane at the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? David Villa in New York. So the level player hasn't really been down. I think the level of coaching has gone up, and the teams as a whole are now better.
Would you say to players playing maybe top of League One, maybe middle of Championship, top of Championship, get over to America, or is it difficult for them to get over now? Is it a challenge for them?
Yeah, I think it's a bit more challenging. I think MLS are scouting more out of South America, and it's a bit harder to come. But I would definitely advise someone that was in my kind of shoes, in a similar place, to come over here. Because you know what I love about it, Gary and Rebecca? It's a young league. You look at a player like me, there's 100 of me in England, you know what I mean? But you can break records. Teams are still young enough to where you can actually be a legend and break records and be in the history books for a lifetime. And I don't know, just growing up in England, we don't often see that because we support and play for teams that have rich history for hundreds and hundreds of years. MLS is 30 years old. You can go and put your name in the history books here, and I think it's an exciting challenge for anybody.
There's not 100 of you, by the way. Don't downplay yourself.
Well, but there's players, thank you for that. But there are players that, have similar ability and are good players that can come over here and really make a name for yourself.
Bradley, I'll get into the football in a second, but I just had a question actually. Coming over in 2013 was the same year I came over. Whether it's a footballer coming to America or just somebody who works in TV like me, I've loved it because of the attitudes of American people. How have you found that side of it? It just, I don't know. I just feel like it's a very different culture. I love England. I'll always love England, of course. But I love the culture here. Gary, stop doing that. You are out of order. For anyone listening, he was making a money gesture, which is absolutely outrageous, by the way. Stop! No! Bradley, stop. Bradley, you know what I mean, don't you? It's a different outlook on life over here. Gary, stop.
I feel like I know what you're alluding to. It's more the mentality as well with there's no ceiling here. It doesn't feel like there's a ceiling to a plan you have or an ambition you have, when you have your dreams. I think Americans naturally just see something and if they want to go for it, they'll put their mind to it and can be the best, at that one thing.
Bradley, Vancouver Whitecaps, 7 points clear at the top of the Western Conference following the 2-1 win over Real Salt Lake at the weekend. So they are now only the 6th team in Major League Soccer history and the first team in 15 years to reach 26 points after 11 games. They're undefeated in 10 games in all competitions. Did you expect this?
Not this. I didn't expect this. I got a little stick last season because I used to really enjoy watching Vancouver. I gave them a lot of credit, and they were a team that on their day could be anyone, but they couldn't put it together consistently. And now Sorensen's come in. Honestly, I don't know how I could describe it for you guys. You remember when Brighton first were maybe under Potter? Just a team that everyone wouldn't expect to do well. But when you actually watch this team, you can see they're well coached. They have players that are not stars in the league, but are now making themselves into stars because they've got quality. They've benefited off just a year of being left alone, not being that team that everyone's talking about. They've just grown as a team. Beautiful to watch, honestly. Play some lovely football. And then the guys are grinders because they're not superstars. There's no big DP on that team. There's no superstar. So against the ball, they're at it, chasing, closing down. But then when they have the ball, they have real ideas how to break lines and break pressure. And then they have a goal scorer up front, Brian White. Just all-round good team. The bench is good. They're just fun to watch. This is not an accident. They're well coached, and it's a team that, if you've had your eye on for a couple of years, you could have seen it coming. But I didn't expect them to do this well.
Just quickly, they were the ones that beat Phil 5-0. Were they the ones that did Phil 5-0?
Doesn't look so bad now.
No. Yeah. No, I tell you what, I watched that game. I stayed up to watch that game that night, and I tell you, they were unbelievable.
I didn't think they would do that against Portland, Gary. I honestly didn't, because Portland at the time, their attack are a joke. They got 4 or 5 players in that attack for Portland that are ruthless on their day. But Vancouver went there, and again, it's the way they play. Yeah. They plan different for every game, and hugely successful.
Yeah.
It's actually illegal to do a Major League Soccer podcast without mentioning Messi and Inter Miami. So here's the customary question. They snapped their losing streak, beating you at Red Bulls, your old team, 4-1 in Florida. The victory broke into Miami's 3-game losing run across all competitions, which was in itself making headlines. The Messi story was interesting. He got on the score sheet, scored a goal, then left the field at full time, leaving his teammates out there to celebrate. He disappeared. Are we reading something into that?
No, I'm not. And you know what? I should know this, but you're teaching me something. I didn't know that happened. On the 360 show, we don't get all of those clips. But I don't know what that's about. But I don't think it will be too big, honestly. Messi's having a good time right now in Miami. They literally play games, win, go to the F1. You know, life is good.
I know, right? I know. And the story about the Supporter Shield, I think you said actually over the weekend on Apple that you think that Inter Miami have no interest in the Supporter Shield at all. It's all about winning MLS Cup, which I still think 12 years into being in America, I am still getting my head around not caring about winning the league. We spoke to Dean Smith from Charlotte FC a few weeks ago. He was like, I want to win the Supporter Shield. I'm like, Dean, give it 10 years, you won't care about the Supporter Shield. He's like, no, I want to do it. It's winning the league. I'm like, it's not about winning the league. And very much that's the signs coming out of Inter Miami, right, Bradley?
Yeah, but I was talking, and the crew didn't agree with me, but I was talking more from a place of, they made it out like they had to win that game. It was like a bounce back game that they had to win. And my answer to that is, I don't think so really. I think they won the Supporter Shield last year. And this season, I don't think that's at the top of their list. They won the Supporter Shield and everyone still said, well, they didn't win MLS Cup. So I think if I'm in that locker room, I think the priority would be MLS Cup to shut up the haters, as you would say. But my view on the Supporter Shield, like yours, Rebecca, is it's the most important thing. If you win the most amount of games throughout a season in both conferences, you're the best team in the league. I can't now lose in the playoffs and you tell me we weren't the best team. It still doesn't make sense to me. I respect it, I understand it, I play by the rules. But yeah, I'm just mad because my free Supporter Shield over here don't mean anything.
You get a medal for winning the Supporter Shield?
No, you don't get a medal. It's unbelievable, Gary. You get a shield. You get a shield. But it's annoying.
But you don't get a medal for winning?
No.
You don't get a medal?
For being the best team, Gary. For being the best team.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Can we start a campaign on It's Called Soccer for players who win the Supporters' Shield to get a medal, please? At least recognise that they've literally over the season finished top of the league. Thank you.
I'm with you. You heard the man.
Yeah, I love the way you just sit back in your armchair. Like, my work here in MLS is done. Yeah, they need like mini shields. You're right. You're absolutely right. Okay, couple more questions to go, Bradley, on Major League Soccer. So Kansas City, this was so weird. Kansas City beat LA Galaxy 1-0 with a 0.00 XG and no shots on target, which is a record for Major. I don't quite understand that. On Sunday night, well, it was an own goal from Mayo Yoshida. Southampton fans might remember him. Galaxy now tied. Galaxy, what is going on? This is another thing that I'm still struggling to get my head around. They're tied for the longest winless streak to start a season, 11, also with Montreal, which is also this season. Greg Vanny. You know, I watched that final against your old club, New York Red Bulls, last season. I watched the way he was at the end, on the final whistle. I can't get my head around the fact that it's the same guy who's overseeing this.
It's crazy.
How much are you putting on his shoulders, Bradley?
I think we've got to put all of it. I'm not one of those.
Really?
Yeah, I think so, because let's be honest, there's teams in the league with worse rosters. Greg Vanny still has a good roster. Okay, he lost Ricky Puig, a brilliant player. Had a great season last year, but you still got Marco Reus in the side. You still got Paintsill. You still got Peck. You got Yoshida, captain of the side, played in the Prem, played in probably World Cup, representing his country. There's no excuse. Greg Vanny has to do more. He has to do a little bit more. He has to change up how they're playing. We talk about a side like Vancouver. If you put those two teams side by side at the beginning of the season, you're going to say LA Galaxy finish higher. I'm sure everybody did. And the only difference is that Vancouver are being coached really well. And at the moment, Greg Vanny is not doing a good enough job for me. You know, a manager who I respect has won over in America. A manager I respect is not doing a good enough job.
Well, we'll see if he gets much more time to turn things around at LA Galaxy. Okay, this one, Gary, I know you'll be really interested in. The 15-year-old wonder kid, Cavan Sullivan. Yeah. According to reports, Philadelphia Union's Sullivan is set to start training with Manchester City, where you started as a kid, ahead of his permanent move there in 2027. This season, he's mainly appeared for Philadelphia Union 2 and remains the youngest player to ever appear in a major American sporting league when he made his debut at 14 years of age, which blows my mind. From what you've seen of him, Bradley, how much have you seen of him? How much should City fans be excited for this?
Yeah, definitely excited. He's a clever, brave, will always want to get on the ball. He can drive at players, good feet, go past players. He's young. Do you know what I mean? I've had experience coaching against Cavan. I help out with Red Bull 2. I'm an assistant every now and again for Red Bull 2.
Right.
So we played against him, and he's a bright player. He's very good, but I also just leave him. Just let him learn, let him play, let him get experience. Because the more we blow these kids up, and we've seen big examples, the more we blow these kids up, the harder it is for them. What I did like on the show that we have on Apple TV, you get a good look at him as a kid, and I wasn't sure what he'd be like, but he can handle himself. They showed us some clips of him in training. He's getting in fights with senior players, respectfully though. He's not shying away from where he is. But my advice would just be give him time.
You agree with that, Gary? He's 15.
I mean, that's no age, is it, whatsoever? I think that, 15, I can't even believe you would be playing at sort of that level with pressure on you at 15. So, yeah, we were just talking about sort of Yamal, weren't we, before, about him at 17, thinking, what's he doing? But someone at 15 is just a kid. Definitely just let him breathe, let him enjoy himself. Don't put too much pressure on him.
I think he's just going to train this summer and then he's obviously still coming back to Philadelphia Union for 2 more years until he moves permanently to Manchester City, which is going to be one to watch for sure. Okay, Bradley, before we go on, Gary.
Go on, Gary.
I was thinking that because quite a few people say about sort of young American kids don't get the exposure to the mentality of European football. And I actually think, I don't mention this, but why couldn't there be exchange programs for like 5 or 6 American kids?
Yeah.
They have a different season, don't they? They play through the summer and then they shut down in the winter, sort of like, November, December, January. Why couldn't American kids come over to sort of like train with sort of European clubs and get that real sort of understanding of winter football at sort of what would be, I know playing winter over there, but like winter in Europe, in parts of Europe is a little bit sort of, it would definitely toughen you up.
I think that's a great idea. I actually think that's a really good idea. Because, like I said, when I first got over here, the mentality side was so different, I think Cavan being able to go and experience something like that, or just players in general, going to see what it's like in England or in Europe anywhere, I think that can make a huge difference. That's a good idea. Shout that from the rooftops too, Gary.
I'm not being funny. He does one Major League Soccer podcast. He comes out with let's get flipping mini shields and now let's get an exchange, the Gary Neville exchange program.
Thank you.
But Rebecca, if you think about it though, look how helpful that is to like students when they do an exchange. It's so helpful to
it's
exactly.
true.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to get some predictions. So MLS Cup, let's go, Bradley. We're just going to go straight in. Who's going to win it? Let's go. You can tell us who's going to be in the final if you want. I don't mind.
You're killing me. MLS Cup, who wins that? I would say, can I pick 2 teams? Because I'm going to sit on the fence kind of guy.
Well, let's have who's going to be in the final and then I'll push you for the winner.
I'll go Columbus if they get a major signing, another big signing. I'm just going to say Columbus against Vancouver in the final.
Oh, and the winner?
Vancouver. Sorry, Columbus, man. I love Columbus too, but I just think Vancouver in a one-off game against a lot of teams in this league are winning, especially this season. All
right, and if Vancouver win the Supporter Shield in the West and they win the Cup, that would make us all very satisfied and happy because then they're the best and they're also the best, which makes them the absolute best. Gary, Portland to win it for you? Doing all right? I mean, a bit of a blip, but...
Yeah, a bit of a blip at the weekend, but I'm hopeful. I think that he has to keep demonstrating progression, and there's definitely been progression this season. I hope they can keep it up. Obviously, there's quite a bit to go yet.
Excellent stuff. Bradley Wright-Phillips, so good to speak to you. Thank you so much for coming on It's Cool Soccer.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Bradley.
Thanks, Bradley. Thank you.
Guys. Thanks for having me.
That is all we have time for on this week's episode of It's Called Soccer. Make sure you join us next Wednesday where Jamie, Gary and I will be handing out our It's Called Soccer end of season awards and we'll be joined by the Crystal Palace chairman Steve Parish ahead of the FA Cup final against Manchester City. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your shows, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.
Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino or 18 plus and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts. Or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.